been a while since my last video. I've been traveling recently and I wanted to share my experience with the travel and how my Dell XPS laptop did during that travel. So I thought you might be interested in that. So let's begin. So the first thing I noticed when I took my Uber ride was that my driver was wearing a mask. And that the traffic on the roads and highway was lighter than normal, or at least pre-COVID normal. So that was the first thing I noticed right away. And then when I got to the airport, it was even more apparent that there were fewer people. So when the airlines say, they've lost 2/3 of their business, I could definitely see that at the airport, and it might even be more apparent in smaller airports where they've canceled some flights altogether in and out of those airports. But yeah, I got into the airport, everyone's wearing a mask. There are signs about maintaining 6 feet distance. I don't think anyone was in front of me in order to get to the first TSA agent, where you show your boarding pass and passport or whatever. Like, there was no one in line. Now, when I went to put my things in the bins, there was a few people, but I gotta say that's probably the fastest security checkpoint I've ever had. And I also wanted to share that I had my laptop in this Dell case here, and it comes with a strap as well, which I didn't use, but it fits perfectly. It comes with a pocket here, and you can actually see there's some subdividers in here. When you have the laptop in here, there's actually not too much space in here. You can, maybe put your some pens or your boarding pass or something. It's nice and padded on the inside, so my laptop was pretty well protected. It also comes with this Velcro here, so that you can actually put this, like slide this down the handles of your suitcase if you want to. So this would be like your carry-on. But also what was nice is that when going through security, I didn't have to take my laptop out of this at all. I just put this in the bin by itself and was able to get right through security. So I do recommend having something like this. It's nice, as opposed to having your laptop in like a backpack, which you would have to take the laptop out. So yeah, I'll put a link in the description below where you can get this. You can actually get this if you sign up for the Dell rewards. I actually purchased this after the laptop with the rewards that I got from the laptop, so this was actually free. But you do have to wait a few weeks for the rewards to come in, but that's really not an issue. Free is free. And every other seat had a sign on it, so people wouldn't sit next to each other, which was really not a problem because there weren't that many people there. Potentially some gates were busy where you couldn't do that because it's right before the flight. So maybe you want to sit at the gate adjacent to it. But yeah, really not that big of a problem. Onboarding, people were maintaining 6 feet distance while they boarded for the most part. Obviously, those people that are together, couples and whatnot, they don't have to do that. So obviously the whole crew, the flight attendants and pilots had masks on, and you got when you boarded, you got a wet nap to wipe down like your armrests, sanitize it, which they do that. They sanitize the plane between flights, but kind of gives you a little bit of peace of mind. Before I got into the plane, I did my part. I actually got tested for COVID 1 week before my flight, just to make sure that I didn't have it before getting on 7-hour flight. My test was negative, so good news, and I was able to keep my flight. Now, if I hadn't been able to keep my flight, the airline I was flying with, and you'll have to check your airline for their rules, but my airline allowed me to basically reschedule my flight, right? Change it to a later date without any fee. Now, of course, if the new flight was more expensive than my previous flight, then I'd have to pay the difference. I don't know if the reverse would be true. If the new flight was cheaper than my old flight, would the airline refund the difference? I highly doubt that. But in any case, it's nice to know that up front in case you're concerned about that, because I was thinking if I had tested positive for COVID, I definitely wouldn't be going on my flight, and I have to reschedule. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, while I was on the flight, I was fortunate to have my laptop with me to help pass the time. And this guy was great on the plane, especially when you have this thing in airplane mode and maybe the shades of the windows are drawn down so you can have the display brightness on low, the keyboard backlight on low. The battery life on this thing is definitely going to get you through that flight. At least it got me through my long flight without any problems. I was able to do my work on it, and it was actually very, very nice to have that kind of distraction while I was on the plane. I did notice, so the tray, I used the tray when I was on my laptop because if this was on my lap, I kind of would have to look down, and over time it kind of a little bit of pain in the back of my neck because I was straining to look down all the time. So you're going to want to put this on the tray so it's up higher, but this is, because this is so small, that wasn't really a problem for me. Now I was in the first class seat. I don't typically do that. In fact, that's the first time I've flown first class. But I did that to give myself a little bit more space between other passengers. This airline was, so for the 3-seat row, the middle seat wasn't being filled. And then for first class, the 2-seat row, only 1 seat was filled. So there was only 10 people in first class. So I did that for a little bit more peace of mind. But that tray is different than the one in economy, in that when you fold out from the center, like the armrest, and it actually has 2 pieces that folds out. So that kind of presented a problem with having a laptop on it because the 2 halves weren't leveled. So every time I typed, if I had this in the center of both of these, in both halves, it kind of go back and forth every time I typed. So that was annoying. So I ended up having just kind of slide this to 1 half, which I was able to do. It's not heavy at all. So that was nice. And now granted, I didn't use my wireless mouse at all. I'm not sure if you'd have enough room for a dedicated mouse next to this laptop, but I found I didn't really need it. But maybe that's just my style of work. I'm more of a command line warrior than point and click. But yeah, it was very nice to have this laptop, and I really wanted to make this video earlier with my experiences with traveling with this laptop, but obviously my plans were changed, like many of you, when COVID happened. So it's been a long time coming. I've had this laptop since late February, early March timeframe, and I've been wanting to travel with this thing for a long time. I finally got the chance, and it definitely met my expectations, and I will be traveling with it again soon. By comparison, I also traveled with my company issued laptop, which is quite a bit heavier, maybe easily twice as heavy and bigger. And I would not be able to use that on a plane. So this is exactly why I got the 13-inch XPS Dell laptop here, for the smaller form factor and be able to travel. I'm very happy with the laptop. Haven't really had. I've had this laptop for, as I said, I've had this since back in February and March timeframe. So it's been over 6 months with this laptop. I haven't had any real issues with this. I've had Ubuntu kind of have some issues on its own. I don't fault the laptop for that. One time during this trip, the suspend didn't work. It's suspended, but I couldn't bring it back. So I ended up having to power it down completely, plug it in, power it back on, and it worked after that. But that was like my one issue that I had during this trip. Maybe that was because my battery was getting low. So I was careful not to do that again. But yeah, that was about it. So yeah, flying at this time with COVID, I mean, it's up to you if you want to travel. I mean, they do say that for essential travel only. It's been a while since I've seen my family, so I think kind of emotional and mental well-being kind of is essentials, and seeing my family is part of that. But ultimately it's up to you whether you want to take that risk and travel. It definitely gave me peace of mind that there are fewer people on the plane for this airline. I hope they extend that to the end of the year. I don't know if they will. It'd be great if they did that during the holidays, but I don't know. If everyone's traveling again during the holidays, they might not want to see a hit to their pocketbook at that time. But I hope they do. And I felt as safe as I could be on that plane, as far as the sanitization, and I'm glad I did. So hope the video helps. If you like the video, give a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more information like this. Usually it's more about the technology, but today I just wanted to share my experiences with traveling, and I hope you have a great day. Till next time. Bye.